Our top focus at this hour amid a feud between Nepal's ruling party and Nepal's president has now approved the dissolution of the Nepalese parliament. The dissolution of the parliament was recommended in the emergency cabinet meeting. General elections would now be held in April and May and more than a year ahead of schedule. At least 7 ministers have stepped down, including the tourism head, citing Oli's decision to go against the popular mandate given to them in the 2017 general election. According to sources, Oli had been reluctant to call the winter session of Parliament because of allegations of incompetence levelled on government and amid fears of mid-term elections as well. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has been under intense pressure from the rival factions of the NCP led by former Prime Ministers Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda and Madhav. The Nepal factions have been urging Oli to oust and quit the post of Prime Minister amid growing counter-accusations. KP Sharma Oli's handling of the coronavirus crisis has been criticised, and Oli had come under pressure to either leave the premiership or the reins of the party. The next general election in Nepal is now scheduled in 2021. The first phase of polling will be held on April 30th and the second phase on May 10th. For more on this, we are now being joined live by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal. Thanks for joining us, Siddhant. Now tell us more as to why the Nepalese parliament has been dissolved so suddenly. There are, of course, allegations of incompetence being levelled on government amid fears of mid-term elections.
Well, the Nepalese parliament has been dissolved days after, in fact, the feud between the two co-chairs of the ruling Nepal Communist Party, the Prime Minister, who is now the interim Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, and Pushpa Kamal Dahal. But today, of course, Nepal has woken up to the hectic political development that happened all throughout Sunday. And now the next action, of course, is perhaps a split in the Nepal Communist Party, which could be announced this week anytime. We know that the Nepal Communist Party has already said that it will take action against the interim Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli for his action. And also there have been massive protests in the country over the move that is being called as undemocratic and constitutional coup by KP Sharma Oli. In fact, the newspapers in Nepal are describing the move as something that is very undemocratic, goes against the ethos of the constitution, and of course will be likely challenged at the Supreme Court as well, because there is no provision in the Nepali constitution for a prime minister to dismiss the parliament if he has the majority. In fact, criticism is not only against the Nepali Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, it's also against the Nepali president as well for approving it so fast without due diligence. She is being termed as a rubber stamp president by the newspapers in Nepal today. Right. And of course, this is a development keenly being watched in both China and India, because China had its stakes in the Nepal Communist Party. They always wanted to have a united Nepal Communist Party, and it is now inevitable that the split comes. And of course, China, for China, it's not a very, very positive news.
Right. Now, Siddhant, what does this internal political upheaval and the kind of impact that it will have for governance in Nepal in this crucial time when a pandemic is raging and the economy too has been hit hard?
Of course, the governance will be impacted even as Nepal faces the massive COVID pandemic challenge. But by and large, this is a reversal of the democratic process in Nepal after the removal of monarchy. And that is why the Nepali Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has come under intense criticism for his own personal gains, for his own political survival. He took a gamble that has reversed months and days, and in fact years of democratic gains made by the government, by the political parties. In fact, criticism is not only being leveled by the Nepal Communist Party, his own party, but also by the Nepal Congress, which is the opposition party, and other experts in the country. And it will have reverberations across the borders as well. Of course, we know that the Nepali foreign minister was expected to visit India in few days' time. It is highly unlikely that he will visit India. And of course, we know that how KP Sharma Oli will be remembered here in Delhi in his term, which of course he has dismissed. The election will take place next year. He was the man who was was behind the new Nepal map, something which was very controversial for New Delhi because it showed Indian territories as Nepali territories. India had called it as a cartographic assertion by Nepal, and thereafter we know that relationship had gone downhill. But New Delhi made sure that people-to-people relationship is not impacted. In fact, there were 3 high-level visits from India to Nepal. First by the RAW chief, then by the Indian Army chief, and then of course by the Foreign Secretary. In fact, for the people-to-people connectivity, India has also started, in fact this was an Indian proposal, to start a transport bubble between the two countries. The first flight will soon start, but by and large this development which has come is something that is being watched by everyone in the region, and something that will plunge Nepal into a prolonged period of political instability.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us and thank you for all your inputs on this story.